Hi everybody. Sorry I missed last week's video with a little illness. I'm doing fine. I hope you and your families are all doing well with the pandemic and the fires. Today I want to talk some about the foot and how the foot connects to the ground. There's a fair amount of controversy in this area. One of the things I've talked about in the past has been that we have interpenetrating bodies. And I'm going to show you a few illustrations from Alex Gray. So let's take a look at the Alex Gray pictures. Now this is obviously the skeleton. And we can look at the many layers in the body. This is the nervous system, for example. And we've got the circulatory system and our physical bodies. And what I'm mainly interested in paying attention to is, well, this is an interesting illustration. Do you see that? Think of that when you look at these other pictures. When you look at these pictures, you can see on these the chakras. You can see sort of an auric field. You have both the physical body and the energy body interpenetrating. So what I want to talk about next is the idea of how our foot cleaves to the ground. I believe Professor used the word cleave, even though obviously that's a Chinese translation. But the idea that the foot, almost like when you push a plunger down, you get a suction cup. Your foot cleaves to the ground, stays on the ground, and all of the weight is in that foot, so this foot is free. And this one is not wiggling around. You don't want it wiggling. You want to be on your axis. Here is a little video, a little demo that's going to be a little hard to see, I suspect. Here I have a sewing needle. We're going to let it represent the vertical axis, and the pink is going to represent the ground. And the vertical axis is going to go vertically from the top of heaven to the center of the earth. There's a line, an energy line, that vertical axis. Now the cotton represents our physical body. Notice how as I push down onto it, cleave to it, it conforms to the shape of the ground. The ankle is a very interesting joint. It's almost, I always like to think of it as like when the first moon lander landed, it could adapt to any irregularities in the ground. Our ankle has that capacity. So the bubbling spring, kidney 1 acupuncture point, the most yin point in the body is behind the ball of the foot. And that's the only point I want your mind to pay attention to. There are many people who have talked about contact points of the feet, and there's a lot of disagreement from teacher to teacher. Some talk about 3 points, some talk about 4, some talk about 6, some talk about 7. I'm talking about none. I want the foot to conform in such a way that your foot remains completely quiet. It doesn't wobble. It's cleaved to the ground. Or as I go over here, it cleaves to the ground. My axis is being drawn. My nose and my navel and my spine and my tailbone are all finding their way through my leg, through the bubbling spring, and into the ground as my foot cleaves to the ground. So if you're bow-legged or knock-kneed or have fallen arches, this might be more challenging. You might need to work directly with an experienced Tai Chi teacher to help you work on this. Anatomically, your foot is created such that you don't want to feel any bones in the feet. You want your foot to be completely quiet, even if someone's pushing and shoving on you. I remember there was one time a skilled martial artist, big guy, came down to the park and played with our teacher. And I was amazed that during this entire push hands encounter, the teacher's feet stayed quiet. They didn't wiggle, they didn't wobble, they stayed quiet. His body might have been having to do all sorts of things, but his foot remained quiet. So when we do the form, think about cleave to the ground, cleave to the ground. And even if I lead with my heel, I'm putting no weight in it. My foot's going to be like the cotton. It's just going to conform to the shape of the ground. Cleave to the ground. Work on that this week. Thank you.